if you want to find the excuse, you're going to find it. You will. 100% of the time, you'll find it. There's people who come from advantaged backgrounds who are the most entitled pieces of something.
If you could give advice to someone who actually wants to go into entrepreneurship or want to study the actual course, what would you tell them?
Nobody wants to go to a club where there's no lion outside.
Maybe not.
The problem that we have in this country is that we have emphasized education enough that many of our young people know that the way to a better livelihood is through education, and then get a job, and then your life becomes better, right?
Welcome back to yet another episode of EduKnowledge Exchange. And as always, I'm not alone. So today I am joined by Uthando Lukuko, who is an entrepreneur as well as an activist. Hi, Putujan.
I'm all right. Thanks, Lilonjani.
Yeah, Deputy Domingos. So, right, to get us right into it, right? So I'd like to know, and I always just go back to basics in terms of, as Uthando growing up, when a parent or even someone, a neighbor, for example, were to describe you, what kind of a child would you think they'd describe you as?
Very interesting question. Very quiet, chubby, laughs a lot, smiles a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, well-mannered. Yeah, I would say that.
And would this also be transferred to school as well? Because, we've had a lot of situations, or we know a lot of people who, for example, are very quiet in Magwabo, and then as soon as they get to school, Umdu is a rascal. Yeah. And, so when you were at school, both primary and high school, what kind of a child were you then, or a learner?
So let's start with the learner. I was not an A student, right? I was one of those who fell amongst the averages. But I enjoyed learning, and particularly I learned that I enjoyed teaching other people, right? So like helping out my classmates with different things. I could pick things up fairly quickly. And then socially, I was, again, probably like at the absolute bottom of the social ladder. I was never, I remember recently bumping into a lady I went to high school with, and we met someplace. And I remembered her, but she couldn't remember me.
Hey.
So that's how it was. That's how it was. That was not part of any social thing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So, man. So you being a shy child, right? So you know how we get this thing whereby you try and take your personality and then match it up with some sort of career that would actually fit you, right? So did you have those moments whereby you'd be like, okay, so as a shy person, I'd rather not interact with people, so I'd rather choose to go into, let's say, filmmaking, and then I'm behind the scenes, you know, and I don't want to be seen by anyone. Yeah. But to be specific with the question, I'd ask, in primary and in high school, what did you want to be?
I wasn't too sure. Okay, I lie. In primary school, because of so my dad was a civil engineer, right? And so I guess I was fortunate in that I got to experience things slightly differently compared to the normal and average. And so I knew that part of the experiences that I'd witnessed my folks go through, that I wanted to have my own company, because I didn't want to deal with the drama of having a boss, having seen what my parents were going through. So, but I didn't know what at the time. When I then got a little bit older, in high school, it was architecture. So that for me would have been my form of expression, because I did technical drawings and stuff. So because I was an introvert, for a word, the best way I could probably speak was through
drawings.
Yeah. So that's what I thought until I did it, and then things changed.
So were you never in that? Because we know with our parents, right? Doesn't matter the generation. There's always that pressure, Bana. You need to go for the career that'll bring money.
Yes.
So, or it's either that, or for the career that is well respected in
Yes.
communities.
Yes.
And I would say back then it would be like your teachers, because a teacher is the one that is known to discipline a child,
Yeah.
right? Or a lawyer because, I mean,
Yeah.
status, a doctor and a policeman even.
Yes.
Yabon. So were you never pressured into like going into any one of those?
I was to go to a professional.
Yeah.
Yes, because my dad was a civil engineer, and I had mentioned to him this architecture thing. It made sense to him because
Okay.
these are people within your circles, right? And so yeah, I mean, that's what I did. That's what I started off and applied for when I was in varsity. I changed it. I didn't tell him that I changed it until my report came out, and then it's like, but this is not what I paid for. So yes, there was that little bit of pressure, but I don't know if I should say this, but I had to defy him a little bit in order to do what I thought I would enjoy the most.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so now, in terms of your course, you did entrepreneurship in CPUT, right?
Correct.
And tell me, how do you go about finding out about entrepreneurship? Because firstly, entrepreneurship, even now, is not a popular thing whereby you can say, "Well, now I'm choosing entrepreneurship, I'm choosing to start my own business," because people always want to like get onto a company that's already functional and just wait for payday, basically. And entrepreneurship can be really hard in terms of sometimes, especially when you're first starting out, sometimes you don't get paid.
Yeah.
There's no money, you don't see the money.
Yeah.
And that could be kind of demotivating. But what is it that actually motivated you with knowing all of this? Or if you did know this, basically, what motivated you to actually to apply for your entrepreneurship?
It was factors of my own doing, and to some degree, none of my own doing. The ones that were of my own doing was that I had applied for architecture. I got into architecture, but there was a window or the kind of temporary approval, if you will, pending the numbers, right? So they said I could either do something in the interim, or I can wait until second semester to then apply for my course. So that was beyond my control. And so my second option was entrepreneurship anyway, because it spoke more so to what I know that I wanted to do. So it was a combination of those two things. Ultimately, when I started entrepreneurship and then went into it, I then realized actually I don't actually want to do architecture anymore at all. Hence my dad, I didn't tell him. Up until a point where I couldn't avoid it anymore. I had to just let him know. But it was after I had sat in a few lectures, gotten a sense of what it is that it's going to teach me, and realized that actually it could probably serve me better for what it is that I want than having a traditional career choice, if you will. So that's how I ended up doing it.
And now, just to take you back as well, your first year in varsity.
Yep.
Because, you know, in high school, teachers are like, Tando, your work. You need to submit this.
Yep.
I'm going to tell your parents that you're not behaving at school. You know, all of these things. And then parents are always waiting for reports and all of this. Now, you get to varsity. There aren't any parents.
Yes.
There aren't teachers that are going to call your parents because of your behavior and all of this, right? You're on your own, basically. How was the transition from high school to varsity, basically, in terms of those things specifically?
It was major. It was major. I grew up in a very strict household. And so all of that strictness kind of almost stopped almost immediately once we went from varsity, high school to varsity.
Yeah.
But some of it still maintained, because the condition, for instance, that my dad had put was, you fail, I'm not paying for anything. Right? And I would have to figure it out myself. So it was a little bit of that balancing act to do something with my newfound freedom, and then also then to try and figure out how to express myself in a different environment. The other advantage is that we had, by the time I'd done my matric, we had just moved to Cape Town.
Oh,
So I'd been in Cape Town for 2 years at that point. So it really gave me an opportunity. And most of the time I was doing my schooling in Johannesburg. So it really gave me a chance to kind of reinvent myself in a sense.
Yeah.
But still with those constraints around, you can't have too much freedom because at the end of the day, there's still a piper that I have to kind of instructions I have to listen to.
Oh man. But at this point, are you staying at home or are you at res?
You
First
know,
year.
I had the option to stay at res.
But
I chose home.
why?
So my life was a little bit different in that I would say I was advantaged. By that point, my folks had a place in Centurion. We had a place in Cape Town. So
You said Centurion. I was
Right.
like,
I mean,
Yeah.
you know. So by the time varsity came along,
yeah.
I didn't need to have res. I had the option and I got accepted,
Yeah.
but I didn't need it because half the time my folks are in Johannesburg and I'm here in Cape Town. My brother was also in school at the time, so it made sense for us to stay.
So
at
you
home
guys
and
were
in Cape
alone
Town.
at home?
Essentially.
Oh, okay. Yes,
Essentially.
yes.
Essentially.
But so does this also, so you guys being home alone basically, does this influence your social life in terms of, but okay, parents are not here, so I mean, you can do whatever we want, like we can just DJ, Did it have any influence or impact in that way?
Yes. Yes.
Was it a good or a bad way?
Both.
Oh,
Both.
Okay.
So I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Project X.
no.
Look it up when you get a chance to.
Okay.
So Project X is essentially a movie about a party, a house party. And at its worst, we had a Project X type house party. So you'll see it when you watch the trailer, is what I
Okay.
mean. And then at its best, we had time to ourselves. Obviously, you're forced to discipline yourself because the folks are not going to be there watching as much as if I was elsewhere. I mean, if they were present fully. Right?
Yeah.
So it was a little bit challenging. So the nice thing was for moments where exam time is here, it can be very quiet, very controlled environment. When it's kind of normal things.
Just attending classes,
exactly.
yeah.
You do, yeah. So it was. I won't lie. Like I had a very enjoyable study period for many reasons. I had many friends on campus, so it was. For me, it was certainly having to balance kind of campus life and campus activity together with being on my own in a sense.
But
Yeah.
I think what I'm drawing from this is that your personality in high school versus your personality in varsity were two different things.
Yeah.
Because now you're saying that you had a lot of friends.
Yeah.
And, so it's kind of... And what do you think caused all of this? Because, I mean, as someone who's introverted, it's not... I would assume that it's not easy to go out there and make friends,
Yeah.
and that the only friends or people that you could say are your friends are people that you actually attend classes with.
Yes.
Right? Like your familiar faces, people you can actually just ask, hey, what did this guy say last week?
Yeah.
And those would be your friends.
Yes.
And when you say you've got a lot of friends, what do you mean? Are they friends or close friends?
So at the time, so I went to Pinelands High School. Or at least I finished off my matric in Pinelands High School. And so because Pinelands was a sporting school and it had a lot of relationships with some of these other schools in Cape Town, you get to meet, I mean, I wasn't a very sporty person, but when socials and other different things like that, you get to meet up with some guys. So by the time you get to varsity, some of my friends from varsity are now studying at UWC, which is across the way from CPUT. I was in Belleville campus.
Oh, okay.
I was in Belleville campus, so we were across the way. So a lot of the friends, it wasn't too much, but a lot of them came from the under kind of high school period.
Yeah.
I had one best friend who I'm still best friends with now, who's from high school, particularly with grade 11 matric. So those are the people that I kind of hung out with initially until I got the classmates. But even with my classmates, because we were like just classmates, it didn't really extend beyond to like
To your social life
Yeah,
and-
exactly. But it was predominantly with the guys. So I used to actually spend all of my studying days at the Belleville campus. And then once a particular hour hits, I'd cross the street. And then I spend the rest of my time at the
I
UWC
think
campus.
I think we know why this is, right?
Yeah.
Because EduDubs has got the bond.
Right.
And yeah, they've got everything that is
Exactly.
social.
Exactly.
So I get you. But, oh yeah, my question was going to be now, in terms of your course, right?
Yeah.
Can you just please take us into detail, right, as to what it entails?
Okay. So it's 3-year course, and then you've got your BTech, and then you've got your BTech, MTech, DTech.
Okay.
And so really it looks at, your undergrad is looking at what are the key business functions, particularly at a small business level, right? So your predominant functions, your marketing, finance, administration, tech, I forgot some of the other ones, but essentially, what are the main core business functions? And then you take it a step above and a step above for year 2 and 3. But effectively, you then get to a point where you then have to determine for yourself, are you trying to start your own business, or you're trying to be innovative within a established enterprise, for instance, right? And then those are the tools that they essentially gave you. I didn't progress beyond my diploma, for better or worse, but beyond that, it then really begins to specify around what it is that you're wanting to do. But the major challenge with it is it's not like architecture, right? Architecture is very specific. You're drawing buildings, and then you go into the granularity of buildings. Whereas with entrepreneurship, you touch on a little bit of a multitude of subjects. So I've done economics, I've done marketing, I've done, some of your major business functions. I've done all of those, but just kind of skimmed off the top. Go into a little bit of detail with all of them, but nothing. I wouldn't say I'm a marketing person.
Okay.
By extension, yeah.
Now, so from what I've gathered, right, is that your father was paying your tuition fees. And we know that there are kids who are funded, or who still are funded by NSFAS.
Yes.
So we've got those two dynamics in life. I'm not sure if you were around with the Fees Must Fall saga. Were you still in varsity then?
No, it came just after I got done.
Just after, okay. Because I was going to ask about that, like, how it was. Because for me, right, I think I was still in high school. I was still in high school at the time. And then I would just see videos, and then I knew one specific person who was in the forefront and all of that. And then it was just so crazy. So I've always just wanted to speak to someone who's like, you know, been there and actually experienced everything. And more specifically with you, it would have been great because you were not funded by NSFAS. And then I just wanted to also to find out if people who were not funded or were self-funded rather, if they were in solidarity with everyone who was fighting for that. And but then now, I think we can get into what is it that you do now in life?
Now, in a word, I'm a consultant. In a word. And then part of that is the activism work. I've got a consultancy, Mansa Advisory. We do climate services. Climate services are essentially just the production of knowledge and information to help improve decision-making around climate specifically. And so that's essentially what it is that I do. I serve in several advisor roles. I'm the MD of Mansa Advisory. And then part of it is then the kind of activism work. So some of the clients that I have are your civil society organizations. I don't know if I should say this, but I've never really been the kind of person who thinks, let's go out into the streets and it'll change everything, right? It's got its role.
Yeah.
It's certainly got its role. But I've always been more of the strategy and kind of the tactics and stuff behind what is it that we're ultimately trying to achieve, and then using going out into the streets as one of the tools, for instance. And so I've served in different capacities over the years, but that's essentially where I am now. And it's kind of culminating from all of these years of different things that I've done, because I've done quite a bit as well. Yeah.
Now, I want to know, with what you do now and your degree, does it have any sort of intersection or anything, Jay?
All right, so let me say this. In short, no.
Yeah.
But to some degree, yes, because I'm running my own business.
Okay.
And that's what I studied for, right? So it comes back in a sense.
Yeah.
But no, because how I came into the environment space, into the climate space, was because the last business that I had was in setting up small solar home systems. So that's like your small solar panels with a charging phone and all that stuff. And then I went bankrupt. And so because I got bankrupt, and I figured, okay, I don't know enough about this work. So I studied about that, got into an organization, tried to obviously rebuild, made that happen. So I did that over 10 years, to the point where now is where I am. So it's a combination of being at the right place at the right time, and then fortuitous in that the things that then happened allowed me to have nice roles that I've played over the years, right? But none of it I could say was, this is the direction I'm going to, beyond saying, I'm going to have my own company.
I see. But now, because we've had this conversation, right, in the podcast of someone studying one thing and then after school doing the other.
Yeah.
For you specifically, would you say it was intentional that you did not go straight into starting your own business? Or was it just life doing its thing and then you just found yourself in another path?
It was life. It was life. Because after varsity, soon after varsity, in fact, my dad got a stroke. And then everything that I was telling you about a few minutes ago went away, right? So I come from being homeless at some point. So it was having to then figure out a way to live and survive that then led to all of these things kind of happening. Even with some of the businesses, I've had different types of businesses over the years. So yeah, it's life. It's life. But I will say this though. How my dad always spoke about entrepreneurship, education particularly, is that it's an insurance policy.
True.
It's an insurance policy.
True.
You don't have to do the thing that you studied for, but when the chips are down, you've got now
that, yeah.
qualification to help. You know what I mean? To help that rebuilding process, which I must say for me made my life a bit tricky, because if you're studying or studied entrepreneurship, and people are needing marketing, I could do it. I mean, because of the nature of what I've done over the years, I've got the experience. I can do pretty much anything. But I'm not a marketer. I'm not an economist. You know what I mean? I'm not an engineer. So it makes specifically to me and my course, right? It makes this idea of finding formal employment within a very set of parameters challenging. Not impossible, just challenging.
Man. So in terms of finding work, right, after, because you've graduated quite a long time ago. Not trying to make you sound old or anything, but I mean, it's been a while since you graduated. So how difficult was it finding a job, or was it a situation whereby you're working while you were studying and then you got into, or you were made permanent after you graduated? How was it looking for a job?
It was tough then. I can imagine it's tough still now, maybe tougher now, but it was tough. Mainly because two reasons. Number one is the reason I outlined earlier about the kind of jack of all, master of none approach that entrepreneurship is. Mm-hmm. And then the second one is there are a number of graduates. South Africa has been producing quite a few graduates over the years. I don't know the stats, but I know that on average, I think about maybe a few 100,000 graduates.
Every year.
Every year, right? But the problem is the job market hasn't grown at the level at which we've been producing graduates. So it became very, very competitive, And so those two factors really impacted my job search particularly, right? So from what I can hear now from the people who are looking, it's not too different, if not a little bit more challenging. only because of because of the numbers. Maybe those two factors alone, the numbers of graduates per course. In some instances, we've got fewer numbers than what we need in particular courses, i.e. in places like engineering and doctors, we've got fewer graduates in that field than what is required. And then in others, we've got more than what is available.
But with what you're saying, right, you're taking me to something that was explained earlier this year by the institution, UWs.
Shout out.
Not shout out. Not shout out. So they've got this thing, right, whereby they will accept more students than there is space.
Yes.
For some reason.
Yes.
And then as someone who comes, let's say, from Mpumalanga, I come to Cape Town thinking I've got a school, I'm secured and all of that. I get there, they tell me, no, you registered late, so we're going to need to cut down the numbers. And I'm like, do you think what you're saying also has an influence with them cutting down the numbers of students that they're taking in because of this, or the little growth in the market in terms of, we're taking, let's say, in education, for example, let's say they took, 100,000 students. Okay, that is too much. But 100,000 students a year. And then now all of a sudden they're cutting it down to 20. So do you think that what they're doing is influenced by what you are now speaking about?
To some degree, yes. Because there are certain institutions which were historically linked to private sector. Right? In the sense that you'd graduate. So there were certain careers where you knew, if I studied, for example, civil engineering, as an example, there are 5 major civil engineering companies in SA. A lot of them draw from some of the best students in the best universities. So in some courses, you're almost always guaranteed that once you qualify, you're going to go into formal employment. That began to change, right? And so it's where the adjustment, in my understanding, and I'm no expert on this one, but in my understanding, is on the basis that university is a business as much as any other business.
True.
Right? So what you want to do is to not be in a position where you're left wanting. That concept of over-subscribing is a similar concept that airlines also use, right? Because what it allows you to do is, if, for example, Tando can't pay, and Tando's got great grades, but you've got a Lilo that can pay, but Lilo doesn't have great grades, you can then, for the purposes of filling up the course, you can have your pick of those whom you want to have in the course, right? That's what essentially happens, right? You apply, and then through whatever committee they select, you're approved or not approved. But the more you have, the bigger the pool that you have of people to choose from. The other thing is, and I'm sorry to use this analogy, but I think it makes absolute sense in my head, at least.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go to a club where there's no lion outside.
Maybe not.
Can you say,
wait.
Can you say, okay, let me qualify it like this.
Yeah.
What the line outside the club shows you is that it's happening inside.
Yeah. My
And
curiosity will be like, let's go find out.
And then the more value, the more prestige that particular place has, based on how many people want to get in there.
But also, as time goes by, and you always need to stand in a line in order for you to get inside this club, it'll kind of get irritating, I would say.
Completely.
And then you just want to try another club.
That's the
So at some point, they need to
attrition.
stop.
Natural attrition.
Oh,
you see,
man.
it's not... Let me play devil's advocate for a moment.
Yeah.
If I was the head of an institution, let's call it a law, right? Dean or whatever the position is. What I want is for that particular thing that I'm responsible for to be known as, this is the place you want to go and study. And once you've studied and gotten a qualification from there, it opens doors in many spaces within South Africa, outside of SA. That's what you want. Now, you cannot have that if you've got this idea that anyone who's anyone can come in from anywhere and sit here and then get this qualification, and then they suddenly, push into the stratosphere.
Yeah.
Doesn't work that way. What you want is, we want to limit the number and have literally the best of the best to participate in there, to give it that kind of prestige and so on, that will carry that message along and get you higher in the rankings, right? Because again, it's a business. So that's the ideology behind it. It's not a very fair thing to do.
Yeah.
But fairness has never been part of the game, right? It's always been about competition and the philosophy that competition breeds excellence.
Just to like kind of bring it back, right? Because if you look at the kind of students we have right now, right? And I think I said this previously. Oh no, it was not in this episode. We are now dealing with people who actually want to go into varsity, don't have money.
Yes.
But they want to break generational curses.
Yes.
They want to build homes. They want to improve their homes, you know, and all of that. So if institutions are going to make money the main thing, right, where does it leave those who do not have the money? Because even with bursaries that we have nowadays, they aren't really reliable, you know. So it's like, where do you put those people who don't have money or who don't have much?
Now, that is probably one of the most important questions, because we're living in a country where the majority fits in that description that you've just made. And for me, as an individual, that's where entrepreneurship plays a role. And maybe you guys might not agree with the statement. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. There's two big mistakes that I think the political elites of this country have made in the last 30 years. Number one, not enough emphasis on education. This idea of reducing things like pass marks and all that stuff.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to add the quality of education,
Right. It hasn't been really pushed. I've got my theories as to why, but I might just be a conspiracy theorist if I share those. But I do have my reasonings for why I say that, right? Number two is underplaying the need for entrepreneurship. Wholly so. Because here's the truth of the matter. And I don't know if you guys might recall this. A few years ago, our president was in trouble for saying that government needs to create jobs. Government is not in the business of creating jobs.
Yep.
Right? It's private businesses, big and small, that will create employment. The problem that we have in this country is that we have emphasized education enough that many of our young people know that the way to a better livelihood is through education, and then get a job, and then your life becomes better, right? Which is not wrong. Which is not wrong, right? What I'm arguing is that there has been an underplaying of entrepreneurship and the role of entrepreneurship. Because what it can do in an instance like what you're asking, if you're not able to find or enter into an institution at the time that you want to, you could essentially run a small business that at least allows you to be able to make a little bit of money.
But now, not to be controversial or anything.
Let's be controversial.
No, I've been bashed for that. I've been bashed for that. So my thing is, right, you're totally right. You're totally right. In terms of, our parents tell us, but okay, the key to success, education. My child, I've never had education, so through education you will be rich, blah, blah, blah. And hence we are forced to go into these career choices, your law, your education, okay, not education, medicine, and all these other. And then, at the same time, I would specifically like to blame the youth, right? For not wanting to venture into entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Reason why I say this is because you see someone who is my age selling your fruits and vegetables, right, on the streets. That is not cool.
Yes.
No one wants to be seen doing that.
Yes.
Right? And Tina, as much as you can say, Bana, I come from a home where we are not as privileged as your average South African, and all of that, right? But then at the same time, it's like you want things to be handed to you. We apply for NSFAS and we say, hey, uzawuthatha because anando ekhaya.
Yeah.
NSFAS akuthathi, government this, government that. You apply for a school, that school does not take you as well. It's because I come from this, we're trying to, and I think with our previous guest, Undo Oluko, I liked what he was doing, and I told him this, that I like the fact that as someone who's young in this day and age, he's able to say, because we were speaking about failing and all of that, he was able to say, no, I know, I did not do A, B, and C. Because Tina, what we'll do is, we'll say, no, Utando, I asked him for a book, he didn't lend me the book, so that's why I failed. Uba, in my lecture, he doesn't even speak loud enough, he doesn't do this. And the times for lectures, I can't attend, because what do you mean I need to wake up at 8? And it's everyone's
Excuses
fault.
And,
everyone's fault, besides us.
Yes.
So as much as, I feel like entrepreneurship, there's been a lot of people advocating for it. And there's more than enough people who have. It's just that it's a matter of who's willing to listen.
Yeah.
Because even with our podcast specifically, it's for everyone.
Yes.
But people will be like, no, I can't listen to this podcast because it's on YouTube. Umdune data for TikTok. But
not
YouTube, we can't do that, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, there are those situations whereby Umdu is literally poor, where they don't even have a phone, right? But then my thing is, for those who are advantaged, they are the ones that I feel like are not doing enough research, because you can look at someone who comes from nothing and they will tell you how much they've tried. And then when as someone who's got, let's say, the bare minimum at least, you feel entitled.
Yeah.
And then for someone who doesn't have anything, they know they need to grind in order for them to get somewhere. So I'll say it again, I blame the youth.
I would agree with you. So someone would listen to things I was saying about how I grew up. I wouldn't go into how I grew up as such, but those Molanyana aspects.
Yeah.
Right? And they would think, Tando, you have had a nice life.
You're a golden baby.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, I just also said in the same sentence that I was homeless. You know? And for everything that I have now, I didn't have anyone to fall back on. Right? So, and that was at least in the last 10 years. Right? 12, actually, to be specific. And where I agree with you is that if you want to find the excuse, you're going to find it. You will. 100% of the time, you'll find it. And that excuse will be the excuse that you choose to explain away why you didn't. You'll find it. 100% of the time, you'll find it if you're looking for that. The same way that if you're looking for, let's call it success for a word. And success,
you'll find the drive.
You know what I mean? It's not the money part.
Yeah.
If you want a specific outcome, you guys wanted a podcast. You know what I mean? You wanted a podcast, and now here you've got a podcast. It's that thing. It's that drive in my mind, right? That matters most. And over the years, I've been very, very fortunate. Like most stuff I don't say, right? But I've had people work for me who have straddled both sides, where there's people who come from advantaged backgrounds, who are the most entitled pieces of some things, right? That I can't fathom it.
Yeah.
And I provide them with an opportunity or opportunities, and a person is just telling me about, popping bottles. And I'm like, Chief, I'm not trying to get you to be popping bottles.
Yeah.
Here. That's your business. I'm trying to get you to be able to level up in your life at some point. But it's up to you whether or not you want to. And on the opposite end, I've had people who have come from nothing, as you were saying, right? And have been able to make far greater use of the opportunities presented to them, including some of the ones that I've presented to them, to a point where they've now grown far beyond where I met them at. Today, they're different people. And that's so beautiful to see.
It's beautiful to watch, man.
You know what I mean? And what makes it extra special is that I'm not an old person saying this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm a younger person. I'm not going to say young, but younger person. And because I've tried some things in my life, I've got the benefit of being able to speak about some of these things this way. Let me give you a quick example about what I mean, just in terms of experience.
Yeah.
By the time I was 30, I started my professional career. When I mean professional career, I mean being employed.
Yeah.
I started that in 2014. I graduated in 2011. I spent 3 years doing my own thing. In fact, that was when I was still in varsity, right? I spent a little bit of time before varsity, but most of it in that varsity period, post-varsity as well. But up until 30, I think I had 6 businesses that all failed. All of them.
Man.
Remember, I went bankrupt at some point.
Yeah.
All of them, right? Hence, I had to get employed. And then it was from getting employed, restarting, going back to this idea of, well, great to be employed, but my calling is not to be employed. Yeah, well, and you figure it out. But the point I'm trying to drive at is how much of a determination do you have to be able to keep pushing for what it is that you want? And I find that due to many reasons, part of which is the pressure of social media, most young people would look at particular opportunities, they look down on particular opportunities because it's not going to give you the likes that a person wants, you know what I mean, on socials.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, so yeah, I agree with you that a big part of it is youth.
Hey, man. But because we're speaking about entrepreneurship, right? And in both EMS and business studies, we've got a chapter. Literally, we've got a chapter on this. And you learn about the business functions, as you've said. But now I want to know, because we've done the SWOT analysis in business as well as in EMS, and we've done the business functions. We've been given examples of people who have started their own businesses and they succeed. I don't know why all entrepreneurs in textbooks succeed when we know what real life looks like. But I wanted to know, with the content, right, that we have in these 2 subjects, is it the same as when you are doing it in varsity? Or do you go deeper into it or more into detail?
You go into a bit more detail. The idea at the varsity level is that, at least at that time, because I think it was still early, I think it's advanced a bit more now, it was showing you and giving you skills to support particular business functions, if that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
So if I use an example, one of the years we had an assignment, and that assignment was to look at South Africa's JSE, pick 10 stocks. You've got 100K, I think it was, and then you had to track that stock for 6 months. You can pick any 10 that you want, and then you track those for 6 months. And then at the end of that, you then write a report about that investment, so-called investment.
So this would be like a practical part of the course. Oh, okay, great. Because I also wanted to ask that.
That's the assignment, you know. And I aced that.
Okay.
You know, that's like, interestingly, the finance part of my studies I did brilliantly in. The more administrative stuff, not so much. And that's a testament to now, because administratively I need support, but otherwise I can do other stuff. But that's the thing, is that even with marketing, we would have actual brands, right? And in some instances, some of those brands might come to the lecture based on the lecturer's relationships, and they would want to find out, how would you improve a particular something, right? So how would you apply the theoretical principles in a practical, lived world environment, using stuff that's happening in the media.
Yeah.
So it's not, and which is part of the reason, in fact, that made me choose CPUT over your Stellenbosch and UCT, for instance. Because one of the things that I wanted was the practical experience beyond just the theoretical.
And CPUT is known for doing practical more than theory, hey?
Yes.
But now, before we go, I just want to ask if you could give advice to someone who actually wants to go into entrepreneurship or want to study the actual course, what would you tell them?
Okay. let's start with the course. It would be brilliant if a person has already got something in mind, a concept in mind, that they can translate what they learn in the classroom to that thing that they're doing, right? Because then what you learn in class, juxtaposed to what's happening in real terms, will give you valuable insights, right? Similarly, if you've started things, like I had friends in high school who did things like they would bake, crunchies, right? And like little brownies and all that stuff and sell it on campus. Those are all very, very valuable things, because the thing that, again, people don't take cognizance of too much is that sales is huge. Sales happens whether you are a trained salesperson or it's you sitting in an interview room asking for a job, essentially, but you have to sell yourself. Why am I going to take Lilo over Tulani? You guys have studied the same course. You've got similar marks. What's the benefit of me taking you over him? You then have to sell yourself. And that's something that people don't take into. They just assume, no, I'm a cum laude student, and that's just sufficient. Yeah, you're a cum laude, but your cum laude ended at varsity. Now
and we need to deal with your personality as well. Exactly. Hey, my guy, people don't know that, huh?
Yeah, well. So that's the one thing. Then on the side of entrepreneurship generally, the single biggest thing most people are afraid of, which is also why they're afraid of sales, is because they're afraid of rejection and failure.
And trying.
Yeah, well, they're afraid of trying because they don't want to fail.
Yeah.
And they don't want to get rejected. You know, those two things. And that's a natural fear. It's okay to be afraid of that. There's a beautiful saying, I don't remember it verbatim, but it says, fail fast.
There's another one that says, fail forward, I think.
Yes.
Did it fail forward? I think it says fail forward. Yeah, fail forward. Because when you fail forward, it means that you're going to get up and then learn from your failure or your mistakes, rather.
Precisely. So, last point, and then I'll keep quiet.
Okay.
Isaac Newton is accredited as the inventor of the electric light bulb. And as the story goes, he had 1,000 failed experiments before he landed on the light bulb.
1,000
failed.
And we're looking at a light bulb as something that's so simple. Yo, guys.
Yeah, well, now when you're afraid of being rejected 5 times.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, well, yet there's no story of perseverance that exists without failure first being present.
There's no form of existence.
There's no perseverance.
Oh, there's no perseverance
that exists.
That exists without failure.
Being present first.
Okay.
Because you must first fail for you to persevere.
True. Now, last question before we close it off. I mean, we'd normally ask this to students who are still graduating and all of that. In terms of where would they see themselves in 5 years. But I think it's also quite important to ask you this as someone who has just started out their business and just what you would like to foresee for your own business.
So I've been in business 8 years. My company's been around for 8 years. So your question is where I like to see it in the future.
Yeah.
let me tell you a little bit of what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you the details, just to say that I'm advising international organizations. Right?
Okay.
Yeah, on climate stuff.
Okay.
Just to make it relatable. The next step is to advise governments. Yeah. And I'm a step away from that.
So 5 years is too long.
Yeah. It's okay.
I'd like to. Oh, man. Thank you once again for joining us and honoring the invite. Our conversation, I feel, was very insightful. Might get some bad reviews because of what I said. So, yeah, man. But as you guys have heard it from someone that has failed multiple times, do not be afraid to fail. If you like this video, please like it. Or if you enjoyed the video, please like it and subscribe to our channel. and press the notification button for more episodes coming. And we are out. Bye.